I'm just saying. The things you can expect when you vote at the midterms, or the time to vote will be shortened. The number of voting locations will be reduced. There's expanded voter ID requirements. There's limits to mail-in voting. There's removal of inactive voters from voting rolls, also known as purging. Voter supervision, also known as voter intimidation. Poll watchers watching you. Sometimes people in police uniform outside of polling places. There are new barriers also for voters with disabilities and language access barriers. Limiting or eliminating same-day voter registration. A new proof of citizenship requirement. A shift in oversight of elections from independent officials and commissions to state legislatures. The last one is important because Republican-controlled legislatures and Democrats can ultimately control the outcome of elections. Some of the most wide-ranging voter restrictions are in Republican-controlled states of Texas, Georgia, Iowa, and Florida. Texas has a law that includes election officials being charged with a crime and facing up to 2 years in jail for sending in mail-in ballots to people who did not specifically request them. Virginia leads the nation in new proposed restrictive voting legislation. Virginia has 34 pre-filed or pre-introduced bills. 21 of the bills repeal revisions of current state law that ensure voter access to mail-in voting, including permanent absentee voter lists, drop boxes for the return of absentee ballots. In Arizona, 2 laws curbing voting rights have been passed. One requires any ballot cast in the wrong area to be discarded, even if the person was eligible to vote elsewhere. And the other law makes it a crime for anyone other than a family member or caretaker to submit another person's early ballot. In Georgia, the state that gave Democrats the majority in the Senate is grounding down on voter restriction laws. In Georgia, a law was passed that limits the number of early ballot drop boxes and also restricts their location to just inside the election offices or early voting sites. In Florida, Republican Governor Ron DeSantis is pushing for changes in elections laws that build on the bill that his party passed this year, which includes a special force to investigate non-existent voting crimes, unless, of course, you count the one prosecuted case of voter fraud in 2020. Even so, Governor DeSantis is proposing to increase the penalty for the collection of more than 2 ballots by a third party from a misdemeanor to a third-degree felony. Also, more routine purging of voting rolls is taking place. The tactic of purging has become commonplace and is another method to disenfranchise legitimate voters. In New Hampshire, Republicans are proposing scraping ballot scanning machines in favor of hand counting. This is dangerous for many reasons, but specifically, the delays cause suspicion and distrust in the election process. Another tactic to overturn or disrupt elections. The New Hampshire Republicans are also trying to tighten residency requirements because of the small population. College students' numbers count. And if they are excluded, the GOP will have an edge in close elections. The Republican Secretary of State of Missouri, Jay Ashcroft, has called for the state legislature to pass a bill that will require state or federal ID and restrict election officials from fixing absentee ballots. Mind you, the Missouri Supreme Court ruled in January 2020 that a provision of that law was unconstitutional. Remember the states that have passed restrictive voting laws: Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, Arizona, Kansas, Ohio, Texas, Arkansas, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. The states with restrictive and expansive laws: Oklahoma, Louisiana, Indiana, Kentucky, New York, and Vermont. If you live in any of these states, please, you must vote in November 2022 to get rid of legislators that have been complicit or complicit in suppressing and taking away your right to vote. But those states are by no means the only states you need to be wary of. Voting suppression is serious business and crosses both sides of the political aisle. Two Senate Democrats, Joe Manchin and KYRSTEN SINEMA, voted with Republicans against the Voting Rights Protection Act. Remember Joe Manchin, KYRSTEN SINEMA, and the Republicans that have tried to suppress and take away your voting rights. They should not be able to sleep. Political pressure from us must be consistent and uncomfortable. Senators must be made to remember that we, the people, are the government. It says it right here. The Constitution of the United States is only keepers is the people. George Washington. Call, text, email, and if possible, personally go to your congressional person's state office and demand that they vote for voting rights protection. If we, the people, don't protect our voting rights, we only have ourselves to blame when we don't have them anymore. I'm just saying.